Get ready for a deep dive into a case that really shook Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah, this one's a real head scratcher.
Yeah, we're talking about Sal Peron, a man who went from a seemingly ordinary life
Right.
to being convicted of 3 murders.
Yeah.
So the big question we'll be trying to unpack today,
Okay.
what could push someone
Yeah.
to commit such horrific acts?
Right.
We've got court documents, psychological reports,
Oh, okay.
news coverage to help us piece this puzzle together.
Yeah, what's fascinating about this case is it's not just a whodunit.
Right.
It dives into the complexities of human behavior,
Yeah.
the challenges of criminal psychology,
Oh, absolutely.
and even the strategies used in the courtroom.
So let's set the scene.
Okay.
Our story begins in the summer of 2012,
Okay.
July 6th. The sun is setting on Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. Inside a clothing shop on 5th Avenue,
Okay.
65-year-old Mohammed Jabeli is closing up for the night.
Right.
He's a hardworking immigrant from Egypt living the American dream,
Yeah.
running his own business. But tragically, this is the night his life is cut short.
So Mr. Jabeli was found shot in the neck.
Oh, wow.
And right away, this case threw investigators a curveball.
Really?
There's no sign of a struggle, no forced entry. The cash register is untouched.
Okay, so right away, it's not a robbery.
Right. And there's no indication of a hate crime either.
So what was the motive?
That's what makes this case so unsettling right from the start.
Yeah, I can imagine the fear that started creeping into the community.
Oh, absolutely.
A seemingly random act of violence.
Yeah.
No clear explanation.
Right.
And then just a month later, it happens again.
August 2nd, another shopkeeper,
Okay.
Isaac Kadari, is found murdered in his 99-cent store in Bensonhurst.
Okay.
Like Mr. Jabeli,
Uh-huh.
he was shot.
Right.
But this time the killer tried to cover his tracks.
Really? How so?
Bleach was poured over Mr. Kadari's body,
Oh, my God.
and he was hidden under cardboard boxes.
Chilling details.
Yeah.
What could that kind of behavior tell us about the killer?
Covering a body?
Yeah.
It could suggest a few things.
Right.
Maybe it was an attempt to delay discovery,
Right.
a way of clinging to control in a chaotic situation.
That's an interesting thought.
Or perhaps it hints at a sense of guilt,
Oh, wow.
or even remorse, however twisted.
Okay.
It's a detail that raises more questions than answers.
Yeah, for sure. And the plot thickens even more when we realize that both victims
Right.
were Middle Eastern shopkeepers. Both shot with the same .22 caliber weapon. At this point, everyone's thinking the same thing.
Right. Is there a serial killer on the loose in Brooklyn?
Yeah, that's terrifying.
It's a terrifying thought, and the use of the same weapon certainly points in that direction.
Right.
But investigators still needed more to connect the dots.
Yeah.
Remember, they're working against the clock under immense pressure to stop this from happening again.
And then on November 16th, tragedy strikes a third time.
Wow.
This time it's 78-year-old Ramachalor, another clothing store owner,
Right.
on a busy Flatbush Avenue.
Okay.
Can you imagine? For 50 years, this man took the train to work,
Wow.
and his daughter picked him up at the same time every night.
Every night.
Every night.
Wow.
But on this night, amidst a heavy snowstorm,
Oh, wow.
he didn't show up.
His daughter's search for him during that storm adds another layer of tragedy to this case.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It speaks to the ripple effect of these crimes.
Yeah.
The pain and fear that extend far beyond the victims themselves.
And to make matters worse, she finds him murdered in his store,
Oh, God.
shot 3 times.
Wow.
This wasn't just a robbery gone wrong. This felt personal.
Absolutely. This third murder,
Right.
in a more public location,
Yeah.
during a chaotic snowstorm,
Right.
shows an escalation.
Yeah.
It suggests the killer may be growing bolder,
Oh, wow.
more confident, even more desperate.
The whole city must have been on edge at this point.
You can only imagine.
3 seemingly unconnected shop owners, all murdered.
Yeah.
What could possibly connect them?
Yeah.
What was this killer looking for?
Right.
It's a mystery.
A real mystery.
So we're left with the city on edge and the NYPD task force feeling the pressure
Yeah. Big time.
to find this killer. They had their work cut out for them.
They did. But the good news was that,
Okay.
unlike the quiet side streets where the first 2 murders took place,
Right.
Flatbush Avenue was bustling with activity.
Yeah, busy street.
Lots of people, lots of businesses.
Right.
And that meant surveillance cameras.
Oh, so more to work with than
Yeah.
the previous crime scenes.
Right.
But I bet that presented its own challenges.
Oh, absolutely.
We're talking about countless hours of footage,
Right.
hundreds of potential leads, No clear suspect.
Yeah, talk about a needle in a haystack.
Yeah, how do you even begin to sort through all of that?
It was a massive undertaking. Over 100 detectives were assigned to the case.
Why?
And they were looking for anything, any anomaly that could break it open.
It was a monumental task.
I can imagine.
Imagine you're watching hours of footage.
Yeah.
People walking by cars going past.
Right.
How do you spot the one detail that matters?
Yeah, that one little thing that stands out.
Exactly.
Well, it sounds like they did find that one crucial detail, right?
They did. One detective noticed a man on camera near the third crime scene.
Okay.
Carrying a rather large duffel bag.
A duffel bag.
Yeah, and here's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
Think back to the ballistics reports. They confirmed a rifle was used in all 3 murders.
Right. .22 caliber.
Exactly. Could this duffel bag be concealing the murder weapon?
Oh, that's a good thought.
Right.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
It seems so obvious in hindsight.
I know, right?
But to pick that out from hours of footage is truly remarkable.
It really is. It speaks to the importance of meticulous observation, of not dismissing any detail, no matter how small it might seem.
Right, because it could be that one thing. Exactly. And from there, the NYPD did something brilliant.
Okay, what's that?
They released images of this John Doe duffel bag to the public.
Oh, that's so smart.
Right.
Harnessing the power of the community, tapping into everyone's eyes and ears.
Exactly.
Did it work?
It did. Tips started pouring in.
Wow, so they got a response.
Big time leading investigators to a Staten Island resident with a prior record.
Okay.
Sal Peron.
Sal Peron?
And when they got a look at his house, things got even more interesting. Oh, yeah. His house was nicknamed the Mansion on Haunted Hill.
Yeah.
Unfinished projects, plywood doors.
Oh, wow.
A general sense of disarray.
Okay, that paints a picture.
Right.
Yeah.
But the real breakthrough came from Peron's girlfriend, Natasha, who lived in Brooklyn. She had no idea about any of this.
So she was completely in the dark.
Totally, that her boyfriend was a suspect in these horrific crimes.
Wow, so she unknowingly provided a crucial piece of the puzzle.
Exactly. She cooperated fully with the police, allowing them into her apartment where Peron kept some of his belongings.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat.
All right.
What did they find?
Remember that duffel bag?
Yeah, the one.
It was right there in Natasha's apartment.
Oh, wow.
Along with shoes and a coat matching the description from the surveillance footage.
Okay, so they're getting closer.
They're right there, but they couldn't just open it.
Right.
They had to wait for a warrant.
Of course.
Can you imagine the tension?
Oh, yeah.
They knew that bag could hold the answers they've been searching for.
It must have felt like an eternity waiting for that warrant.
I bet.
And when they finally got to search it...
Bingo.
Aha, I knew it.
They found a .22 caliber rifle, sawed off to fit the bag.
Wow.
With a flashlight taped to the barrel.
Oh, my gosh.
Fingerprints and DNA analysis confirmed it was Peron's.
Case closed.
Case closed.
What a relief that must have been for everyone involved.
Oh, yeah.
Especially the victims' families.
Absolutely. But even with Peron in custody, there was still this huge question mark hanging over the case.
The why.
The why. Why did he do it?
Yeah. It's unsettling to think that someone could commit such horrific acts without a clear motive.
It's one of the most perplexing parts of this whole story. As we move from the streets of Brooklyn to the courtroom, we're not just dealing with legal questions, but also the psychological puzzle that is Sal Peron.
Right, trying to understand his mind.
Exactly. Was he insane?
Yeah.
Was he competent to stand trial?
Right, these are big questions.
Huge implications for the case, and to complicate matters even further.
What's that?
Peron decides to represent himself in court.
Oh, wow. He's going to be his own lawyer.
He's going to be his own lawyer. Self-representation is always a risky move.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Yeah, it can make things much more complicated for both the defense and the prosecution. In this case, it put an even greater burden on the prosecutor, Melissa Carvajal, to ensure that Peron received a fair trial. Even though he was acting as his own lawyer.
And from what I've read, Peron's behavior during the trial was anything but conventional.
Oh, yeah, it was a circus.
Really?
He was prone to outbursts, making wild claims. And his defense was often rambling and incoherent.
So it must have been frustrating for the prosecution trying to maintain order.
Absolutely.
And present a clear case. While dealing with this unpredictable behavior.
You can imagine the challenges.
Yeah.
Peron offered alibis that quickly unraveled, blamed the police, even suggested there was a completely different person responsible for the murders.
Oh, wow.
It was chaotic, to say the least.
And in the midst of all this, Melissa Carvajal did something unexpected.
Yeah. What's that?
She chose not to cross-examine Peron at all.
That's right now, many people would consider this a risky move.
Yeah, why not challenge his claims?
Right.
Why not expose the weaknesses in his arguments?
Exactly.
It seems counterintuitive.
It does, but I have a feeling there was a brilliant strategy behind her decision.
What do you think it was?
By refusing to engage with Peron's rambling and often illogical statements.
Okay.
She denied him credibility in the eyes of the jury.
Ah. So she just let him talk himself into a corner.
Exactly. She let his own words, or lack thereof, condemn him. Really? It was a high-risk, high-reward strategy, and in the end, it paid off.
So what was the verdict?
The jury found Sal Peron guilty on 3 counts of murder in the 2nd degree.
Wow.
He was sentenced to 75 years to life, a sentence he is currently serving.
Wow. So justice was served?
Justice was served, but that doesn't erase the tragedy of these crimes, nor does it fully answer the question of why.
Yeah, it's a bittersweet victory, isn't it? Peron is behind bars.
Right.
But that doesn't bring back the victims.
Of course not.
Or ease the pain of their families.
Absolutely.
And as you mentioned, the why still hangs in the air.
It's one of the most haunting aspects of this case.
It's unsettling to think that someone could commit such horrific acts without a clear motive.
We humans crave explanations.
Right.
We want to understand the reasons behind people's actions.
Yeah.
Especially when those actions are violent and senseless.
So in the absence of a confession or a clear motive, where do we even begin to look for answers?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
What could possibly drive someone to become a serial killer?
Well, it's rarely a single factor.
Okay.
It's often a complex interplay of psychological, social, and even biological influence.
Right. A perfect storm of facts.
Exactly. Researchers have identified some common traits among serial killers.
Like what?
Things like a lack of empathy, a fascination with violence, and a history of childhood trauma.
So looking back at Peron's life, are there any clues, any red flags that might fit into this picture?
You know, remember how his girlfriend Natasha talked about his declining financial situation?
Yeah, he was struggling.
He went from being a successful businessman to struggling to make ends meet.
Right.
His business had failed. He was estranged from his family.
Yeah.
His house was literally falling apart around him.
And he was going around to these shops,
right,
trying to sell things. It's essentially being like rejected by these successful family-run businesses.
Yeah.
It's like a twisted reflection of his own failures.
Right. He's seeing these people succeed while he's failing.
Exactly.
And it's eating away at him.
So in his mind, he's not a cold-blooded killer.
No.
He's a victim lashing out at the world that wronged him.
That's a possible interpretation.
Right.
And it's a line of thinking that's often seen in cases like this.
Uh-huh.
The killer sees themselves as the one who's been wronged.
Right.
And their victims become symbols of everything they've lost or never had.
It's a chilling thought.
It is, but it does offer a possible explanation, however disturbing it might be.
But let's not forget the real victims in all of this.
Absolutely.
Mohammed Jabeli, Isaac Kaddouri, and Romachalar.
Right.
They were fathers, husbands, members of their community, all with lives and dreams cut short.
Mr. Jabeli's son spoke powerfully at the sentencing.
Oh, wow.
Expressing his rage and grief.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Isaac Kaddouri left behind young children who will grow up without their father.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
And Romachalar's wife and daughter are left to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives.
These aren't just names on a case file.
No, they were real people with families and loved ones.
Yeah.
And their loss is immeasurable.
And it underscores the ripple effect of violent crime.
Absolutely.
The trauma extends far beyond the immediate victims,
right,
impacting their families, friends, and the entire community.
It's a tragedy on so many levels.
So as we reach the end of our deep dive into the Sal Peron case, what are some of the key takeaways?
Let's see. Well, for me, it's a reminder of the incredible work that law enforcement does.
Right.
Often under immense pressure and with limited resources.
Yeah, they really went above and beyond in this case.
They did the dedication of those detectives.
Yeah.
Their meticulous attention to detail.
Right.
That's what led them to Peron.
And it also highlights the power of community involvement. Remember, it was a tip from the public that ultimately helped crack the case.
Couldn't have done it without them.
Yeah. And on a more sobering note, he reminds us that there is often darkness lurking beneath the surface of everyday life.
That's true. Evil can wear a familiar face.
Yeah, you never really know who you're dealing with.
And sometimes the most unsettling crimes are those that defy easy explanation.
It leaves you with a lingering sense of unease, a reminder that we may never fully understand the complexities of the human mind.
Right.
Or the motivations behind such senseless acts of violence.
Maybe some things are just beyond our comprehension.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
If this case has piqued your interest, we encourage you to explore further.
Yeah, do some research, read some books.
There's a wealth of information out there about serial killers, the psychology of crime, and the criminal justice system. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe.
And keep those duffel bags in check.